when we talk about borders, when we talk about boundaries, we have, first of all, the initial boundary, which is our interpersonal boundary where we talk to other people. And if you want to talk to somebody and you're maybe not that interested in investing in a whole relationship, where can you go to just talk to somebody and get a different opinion and maybe find out if they're really worth pursuing as a friend, something like that? I go to the Kentucky Club. Bars are one of the few places where you can go and talk to strangers. If you go down this, you've been walking down the street before and find those people that come up to you and start talking, and you know right off they're crazy. You can't talk to people in the retail store, in the mall, or anything like that. It's against social convention. So bars are still one of the places where you can go and talk to strangers, and it's okay. That's Fred and Patty, and that one's me over there on the left. That's in the Kentucky Club in 1983. That's for you, Bobby. 1988, I owned a bar in Juarez. And that's the kind of thing you say, that's mostly true, but not really. Actually, I was a partner in a bar over there in Juarez, but it wasn't a conventional bar because we weren't blessed with official sanction. We didn't have a liquor license. In 1988, they had just passed the law that closed the bars at 2 o'clock in Juarez. And my partners looked at that and they thought, that's an opportunity. So I was bartending at the surf club at that point, and they came up to me one night and they needed somebody who could talk to people because they were nice people and everything like that, but they weren't really social. So they offered me the job, be a partner in the bar. And I thought, okay, great, let's go. And my one partner, Petey, he said, don't worry about the cops, everything's taken care of. And I knew at that time that Petey's brother was big in the city government over there at the time. And the city government at the time was, Bermudez was mayor over there, and the rumor was that he shut down the bars at 2 o'clock because he couldn't get people to come to his maquilas in the morning. So he thought if he shut down the bars, he could get the workers there. So I ran the bar for 3 months, and then I went to Australia for 3 months. But the bar closed down, and then a couple years later, I see Petey, and Petey says, hey, that guy's dead. And I said, what guy? He said, remember how I told you not to worry if the cops came? And I say, yeah. Well, that guy's dead. Turns out, the friend he was talking about, the guy that was dead, ran El Cerezo. And when Petey said, don't worry about it, what he meant is, you'll have the best cell in El Cerezo. Then in 1993, I opened up Wildhare's Booze and Adventure, rest in peace, conveniently located halfway between Warsaw, Poland and the Fiji Islands. And for 10 years, I didn't go to any other bars because I went to my bar every night. It was great. It was like having a party every night. It was very special. Then in 2003, I closed, and for a couple of months, I had a lot of leftover liquor. So I mostly stayed home. After about 2 months, I got to the scotch, and I hate scotch, but I choked it down. And then I ran out of money, and I ran out of booze, and just as I ran out of booze, the money was getting short because those things kind of go hand in hand. And I started going over to Juarez. And one of the first bars I found over there was El Arbolito. El Arbolito used to be over there on the Mariscal. It was just around the corner from the Kentucky Club. Turn right, turn left at the taco place that was there. It was a little dive bar. When I first went in there, the old man who opened it in 1946 was in there, and he sat in a nylon web lawn chair behind the bar, and he watched this guy, Conejo, make the drinks. And there was nothing to do in the bar. There was no pool table. There was no jukebox. There was no music of any kind unless a strolling minstrel came in. Sometimes somebody would grab a guitar. All there was a 19-inch dust-dulled Sylvania in the corner, and it was usually turned to the Discovery Channel. So there was nothing to do but sit in there and drink and talk to the other customers. And I don't know if you guys know the Mariscal, but it has a really bad reputation. The Mariscal used to be the Zona de Tolerancia in Juarez, which meant you could do whatever you wanted there. There's the TV. But this was a real decent bar. It was full of guys like this. Old men who'd sit in there and, there were none of the pleasures of the flesh in there, There was just beer and chuchupastes, which is a tincture of a root that the Tarumaras brought down, and there they suspended it in tequila. And there was something going on there. But in 2006, over there in Juarez, they started a program of urban removal. It's kind of like urban renewal, except you just tear things down. And they started tearing down the Mariscal. And it was a big controversial thing. And Sergio, the owner, he fought it for a little while. But he couldn't do it, You'd walk down the street there at that time, and the police would stop you, and they'd put you up against the wall, and they'd go through your pockets, and they'd search you, and it was intimidation. They were trying to get people to stop going to the businesses there. But Sergio's place was okay. But finally, he sold out and this is a picture I took the other day. There's the Bombín. See the Bombín? And what's over here? What's that right there? That's Fred's. Huh? Anybody been to Fred's lately? No, they're not making sandwiches there. And this is another street on the Mariscal. They've come in, and if you go in there now, you can stand right in front of the Bombín there, which that building is still standing, and you can look all the way across to the gymnasium, and there's nothing there, nothing but paving stones the whole way. It's empty. Okay, there were some, what they call in Chile, prostíbulos there, centros nocturnos, whorehouses and stuff like that. But there were also real businesses, and all of those people had carved out a niche in the socioeconomic ecology where they were making business and they were supporting themselves and stuff like that. And if it wasn't enough to have the government tearing down your buildings, you also had to worry about fire. This is the Noa Noa. Remember the Noa Noa? It's a parking lot. That was the fire that consumed it. Then in 2007, they started with La Matanza. People started dying over there with some frequency. And I still wanted to go over to Waters. I still went. And I'd go like that. When I first started going over in Juarez in 2003, I would put on my rattiest. I had some jeans that were all ripped here, nothing but threads, and I had a shirt that matched my favorite shirt from 20 years ago or something like that. And I'd go, and I'd put that on, and I'd go over there, and that way I wouldn't get bothered by the panhandlers or anybody. I could go, and people would leave me alone. They wouldn't stop and talk to me. And then that started to be a problem when the police started frisking people. I had to up my game a little bit. But my whole idea is to always look like you're more trouble than you're worth. So originally I did that, and I still do it. I try to look like I'm not worth very much, which isn't that hard. But I also try and look like I'm a little bit of trouble. So this is not an old picture here. I wore this over to Juarez not so long ago. I don't know if you can see it, but right there I got a a twist tie around my ankle, so that means this evening I was going over there on my bicycle. Charlie. And a part of the survival, I forgot to tell you a part. In Mexico, they really care about your shoes. They really check out your shoes to see where you are in the socioeconomic scale. So if you're wearing nice shoes, they know you're worth something. And you guys might not realize it, but we do the same thing in the United States. In the United States, you declare your tribal affiliation with your footwear. If you don't believe me, and I tell you that I met a girl and she was wearing Birkenstocks, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You can already smell the patchouli. Right? And it's the same. Like, there's Nikes and New Balance, right? They're practically the same shoe. There's no difference this much difference between a Nike and a New Balance. But a guy that's wearing Nike does not belong to the same social tribe as a guy that's wearing a New Balance. They're different tribes. Shoes are how we declare our tribal affiliations in the United States. That was part of my self-defense. You guys should be paying attention to this because this stuff can save your life. The other part is you have to accept the myth. If you don't accept the myth, you open yourself up. Part of the myth is that the police are on your side. They're good. They're here to protect you. Well, that's not so true in Mexico. And the Army's good, you know. Pretty much the only good guys in Mexico are the guys that don't have any guns at all. Also, when I went over there, I figured I had math on my side. Because the rate of homicides over there, at its worst, was a little bit more than 200 people per 100,000 citizens. I figure that's 99,800 people that aren't getting killed. I still buy lottery tickets, though, so. Then I started noticing I was the only guy walking on the street at night, and I thought, I wonder what my odds are now. This is part of the myth you have to believe, where the police are on your side. This is a protest they had over there one day, and there was definitely a sense of antagonism between the citizens and the police. Go figure. After they closed down the Arbolito, I started going to this place more. This is El Paraíso. And I took this picture in pretty much the height of the murders over there. This guy right here doesn't look like he's too happy about me taking his picture in a bar there. But the Arbolito was the Club Paraíso was a beautiful building. It was a tribute to the taxidermial arts. They had eagles and bobcats and foxes up there on the wall, an armadillo. It was all kinds of junk. And it was a real old bar. It went back to the 50s probably, maybe later. And it's huge historic value. I mean, this is a place where you can go and talk to strangers. And you don't have to, without commitment. You can go and you can talk to a guy and you can get his opinion, and then you walk away and that's it. Or, you know, maybe you like him, maybe you see him in again. All these bars have regulars, you know. But you have options there. We don't have those options in everyday life. And in 2011 or 2012, they started a new wave of bar closures. And it focused principally on Calle de la Paz, which is a big pedestrian walkway just south of the 16. It goes by the cathedral. And Calle de la Paz, it used to be like the Casbah. You'd walk down there and they had tarps over everything, and the sight lines are really short, and it was like, oh, you know, wow, what's this? This must be dangerous. See, that's a problem, another problem. People confuse poor with desperate and desperate with dangerous. And that's not usually the case. Usually poor people are just happy to be acknowledged and happy to be treated with respect. And if you just say hi, you know, they're not dangerous, you know. But people confuse that often, and I see people intimidated by all these poor people, and really, they just want to be friends. So they started closing all the bars over there. And one weekend, they closed 40 bars on Calle de la Paz. There used to be a lot of bars there, and they were great places. There were places where you could go in the middle of the afternoon and get a beer, and there'd be a live band playing and people dancing. This place here was El Puerto, and you go in there, and they had taxi dancers. Do you guys remember what taxi dancers are from the Depression? Remember? Oh yeah. In the Depression in the United States in the 30s, you would go to a bar, and there would be girls in there, and you would give them a quarter or something, and they'd dance with you. And that's what this place was, the Puerto, but it's gone now. So one night, I was in a bar on Segundo Ugarte, the same street that the Paraíso was on. I was in Tuna Country was the bar. I was asleep in my bed, and my friend Mike Silva came in, walked in the door. I hadn't known he was coming, or I would have locked the door. And he came in, he said, "Hey, come on, we're taking Scott to the airport." Yeah, okay, bye, honey, And I went, and we got in his Volkswagen, and we went over the bridge, the border. It was already 2 o'clock or something. We went to this, we drove around, not knowing any bars over there. We went into Tuna Country, and I sat down in Tuna Country, and we had a couple beers, and pretty soon, the guys with the TV cameras come backing into the bar with lights and everything. And then, who walks in the bar? I'll give you a hint. Gente comes in there and sings the songs. Juarez was the place where you could still go and see a live band at 4 o'clock in the morning. Gente comes in there and sings a few songs and walks out. And if he'd stopped for a drink, we probably could have talked. We could have probably broken our personal boundaries. But here's a cautionary part for you. Not so long ago, 2 years ago, I was out looking around the bars at night in Juarez, and I went back and I stopped at the Kentucky Club, like my last bar before I go home. And just between us, I'd been drinking. I walk in the bar, and there's this guy standing up right by the door, and I don't know. I know everybody in the Kentucky Club. I didn't know this guy. And there was something off about him. There was something a little weird about him. For one thing, he had two 2-carat earrings in each ear, diamond posts. And I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he looked like he was waiting for me or something. He said, "Hey, so we started talking, and I sat down at the bar. He sat down next to me. I bought him a shot. And the whole time I was talking to him, I was trying to figure this guy out, Who is this guy? This is weird. I don't know. And so I got jumpy, because who knows what's going on. So I got up all of a sudden and walked out. I said, "Okay, thanks, bye," and I left. And then 2 months after that, I see him on TV. This is El Diego, who's now in United States federal custody. He was the head of La Línea, and he admitted to being responsible for 1,500 murders in Juarez. So, just because you can talk to people in bars doesn't mean you ought to. Thank you.